Hi guys, Kevin Ellis Jr. here with the Apex Racing Academy with this track guide for Laguna Seca on the Porsche Cup car. So as we head down towards turn 1 guys, you want to try and keep it a little bit more central as opposed to being right up against these cones on the left hand side. It's purely just to try and straighten out the braking zone as much as possible. Trying to turn and brake in this car is really difficult, and especially with it being downhill, it's really difficult to try and get it right into here. So you want to try and keep it a little bit more central so that you can get out towards the curb on the right hand side, begin to go onto the brakes. Now the reference point we're going to be looking at here is this white line just on the outside of the dirt right out here. So it's a pretty early braking zone from 5th gear. A good overtaking opportunity as well. If you're strong on the brakes into here, then obviously that opens up a lot of opportunities in your races to overtake someone. So as usual, we're nice and slow up to threshold, just trying to minimize the chances of locking the inside front. The whole way into here I'm listening to obviously the left earphone for the left front to start locking up, just waiting through the wheel to feel it get slightly light, just to know that I'm on the verge of the inside front tire beginning to under rotate. But on this lap it hooked up pretty nicely. And yeah, as I say, the white line on the right hand side, don't get up onto this concrete on the right hand side. As soon as your right hand tires get up onto this, it will start to pitch the car and it will lock the inside front tyre as well, so you only want to go out as far to the white line, which I've done here. You don't actually want to get out onto this concrete stuff, which you can utilise in some other cars, but unfortunately in this car it's not really an opportunity. So we bring it in, looking towards the first apex here, so this red sausage curb on the inside is your apex point. See here, we bring it in, clip the apex, still trailing a little bit brake just past it, just to try and keep that rotation going, and then pick up the throttle right around here. So it's a bit kind of barren of markers, obviously on a single screen as well. It makes life a little bit difficult, but just for reference here, this is roughly where we're getting on the throttle. So for me, obviously on 3 screens, as I'm coming through here, I can see obviously the red curb on the left hand side, and then it comes into shot here, and that's really my cue to hit that second apex right there. Applying throttle the whole way through, just being a little bit patient with the last 15-20% of that, just to make sure we don't get too much over rotation and slide it out into the dirt. As you can see here, extended right out onto the dirt on the right hand side, and then start bringing it left as quickly as you can for turn 3. So as we come in, braking just before the 2, you can see we're getting to threshold at the 2. Using the curb on the left hand side, down into 3rd gear. Then you want to start angling it in nice and early. A late apex here isn't really beneficial, and it's quite a deceiving corner. You want to turn a little bit later, or you feel like you want to turn later, but you want to turn a little bit earlier than feels normal. Bring it in really tight, and again, these red sausage curbs are good apex markers, and good throttle pickup points as well. So you can see this is where we're picking up the throttle again, just before the red apex curb on the inside there. You can see roughly where we are in relation to the corner. So it's a good spot to use for the majority of the lap, is right as the inside front is about to get to that red anti-cut, start to apply the throttle, and again, as normal, you can be quite aggressive up to 50-60%, and then that nice gradual increase up towards 100 after that. Using the curb on the outside, you can see a little flick of oversteer just on the exit there, and then bringing it back on the track before we get to the dirt. Keeping it tight or close to the white line on the left to then bring it out to this curb here and try and open up this right hander as best we can. And again, braking at the 2 and 4th gear now. I'm going to leave it in 4th gear for this corner. So through here, leaving it in 4th gear, I'm going to feel the engine sort of, or the low RPM sort of pushing the car into the corner. So you will, it will sort of instinctively force you to carry a bit more speed into here. So if you feel like you're constantly overslowing and using 3rd, use 4th, it should kind of push the car through the corner. The lack of engine braking in 4th will just kind of encourage you to carry out a bit of extra speed. And of course on the throttle pickup as well, it will kind of dampen that, dampen the power, just because you're at a lower RPM, so you can be quite aggressive with the throttle. Which again, you can see here before we get to the red curb on the inside, we're picking up the throttle, and again, it's pretty early back here to try and maximise the exit as much as we can. So we're picking up the throttle as early as we can, apexing at that red curb, keeping it nice and tight to the curb on the inside, and then tracking it right out. Again, a little correction on the exit, just carrying as much speed as we can using the curb on the outside. And then onto the curb on the right hand side. And we're going to be looking at the 3 board here. You can see as we come past the 3. From 5th down into 3rd gear, keep it nice and wide, and then we kind of just begin to arc it in. So you can see from here that the corner's banked. You can visibly see it also goes uphill as well. So as you turn in and get towards the apex, the car is going to start compressing into the track, so there's going to be a bit of extra grip that way. So you can carry a little bit more speed into here than you feel like you might be able to on like a flat corner like turn 4 or turn 3 just prior. As you come in here again, you can carry a bit more speed, and with it being uphill, you do need to pick up the throttle as early as possible to try and start that acceleration process. Because if you're late to the throttle in an uphill acceleration zone, it's going to kill you compared to being, a couple meters late on just a flat acceleration zone. So again, as I say, we're braking at the 3. Make sure to brake on the curb, and then you can see as a bit of a turning reference here, the curb has got some kind of tire markings on it here, and then it becomes clean afterwards. You can start to kind of come off the curb just as you come past the dirty part of the curb. And as we turn in, obviously again aiming for this red sausage curb, and as the inside front gets to that, we're picking up the throttle. And again, it's quite an aggressive throttle pickup as well, keeping it as tight to the inside as we can. And again, as I was saying, because it's uphill and the car's compressing into the track, you can be aggressive with that throttle input, which you could see there. As we started to pick it up at the red anti-cut, it was kind of aggressive up to about 65, and then quite quickly after that we did get to 100, although it was a smooth application, it was quite quick. Then as we come just over the crest, out to the curb on the outside, and then up towards one of the most awkward corners on the track. It's going to be a really tough place, especially in qualifying. Even if you don't get the off track here, just brushing the dirt on the exit is enough to lose you a tenth to a tenth and a half. So it's important that into here we definitely pay attention. So as we come in on the brakes here at this sort of darker patch on the curb, you can see that's quite light here, then it becomes quite dark right up around here. So we're in 5th, down into 4th. I'm going to trail the brakes as we come up over the crest. You can see the apex comes into view over the crest. There's the apex there. We start angling the car in, and then right before we get to the apex right here, you can see we're picking up the throttle. We're starting that acceleration process. Again, the car is going to compress into the track here when you get to the apex, and it's an uphill acceleration zone. So same as the previous corner, we need to be nice and early on that power, nice and confident on it. Make sure we get the car decelerated nice and early into the corner so that we can carry that speed out of it. As we come through here, you can see just how close we are to the apex curb. The further away you are from the apex curb here, the further away you're going to be, or the more you're going to be into the dirt on the outside here. So if you miss this by a tyre width, you're going to be a tyre width wide come the exit. It's a big commitment corner. If you miss that apex, you're going to have to just sacrifice a bit of time, lift out of it just to survive, because if you do end up out on this dirt out here, you're going to end up in this wall on the outside, spinning back across the track into the wall on the left side, or hopefully not taking someone out on the rejoin. So as I say, braking at the change in colour on the curbing, getting nice and tight to the apex and picking up the throttle just before we get through there. Then as the car compresses up to 100%, a little confidence lift on the exit as I had a bit of doubt, and you can see just how tight we got to the dirt on the right hand side there, and then carry that speed up the hill. Into the corkscrew, you have this white line on the left hand side. This is going to be your brake marker here. So again, you can see we go past that white line onto the brakes, lifting off the brakes as we come up over the crest so that we don't get any kind of lockups, and then start to reapply again as we downshift into second gear. Into here, you want to try and cut as much off this inside as you can, which you can see we're trailing brakes the whole way in. As soon as the car compresses, there, picking up the power, and then flick it right. Try and avoid getting your right hand tyres on this dirt here, because it will cause the car to spin when it compresses into the landing of the corkscrew. So make sure that you stay a little bit wider through the right hander, just to avoid any kind of issues there. If you can avoid the dirt on the right hand side, it will just compress and it will go. There shouldn't be any kind of traction issues. You can see that little flick to the left I gave it there just to avoid any kind of dirt, and you can see even then I just brushed it, but that little flick was enough to save us so that I could get full power all the way back here and not have any kind of qualms on the exit about if it's going to spin or not. Don't worry about getting over to the right hand side for the entry of turn 9. There's a lot of grip on the inside, and again it's cambered, so you want to just carry as much speed out of the right hander as you can. Track it out to the left here so you get a nice shallow entry, and it's a big commitment corner. This is probably the toughest corner on the track for me to try and get right on a consistent basis. And again, braking marker's a bit barren. It's this tyre mark right around here, which is quite hard to spot, especially when you rewind it to here. You really can't see it. But as I'm driving into the corner here, I'm obviously flat. I'm like, right, we're getting close to it. There it is there. I can see it onto the brakes in 4th. just leave it in fourth as we trail brakes, and then right here you can see the car's going to compress again into the track. You can see the camera adjust, then we pick up the throttle right before we get to the curb on the inside here. Again, you can see that red sausage curb on the inside. Another great reference. They're quite handily placed around the racetrack on every single apex, so make sure to make use of them. So yeah, just to go over that one more time, as it is a bit of a difficult corner. As we come in, we're looking for that little tyre mark right there. That is really, really unfortunate that there's no kind of boards on the inside or any kind of curbing or anything like that. It is literally just that tyre mark on the inside of the track. But with enough practice, you will start to pick it out, and you will be able to spot it every single lap. Obviously, when you're behind cars, it's going to make life a little bit difficult, so make sure you do get some practice behind cars. If you've got teammates you can do that with, or even jump into an open practice. But again, as I say, as we come through here, we're going to pick up the throttle just as the left front gets to the curb on the inside here. So this is where we start to bring the throttle into it. See the left front getting onto that curb, and then we're up to 100% pretty soon after. But you can see as the car again is compressed, we come up over the crest on the exit. You don't need to worry about getting all the way out to the left hand or the right hand side, sorry, as you are going to have to bring it back to the left. And then a key point here. On the way into here, you don't necessarily want to have your left-hand wheels up against the dirt. It might be a little bit hard to spot through the recording, but if you look here as the track sort of falls down the way on this straight here, this curb actually sort of falls the other way. So it's a bit of a sort of, I guess the shape I'm trying to make with my mouse here, it sort of falls away on the curb. So you don't want to get all up over this, because as you turn in, the car's getting pulled to the left and the right, and you're going to have to come up over a crest as you come into here. So you can see we don't really use a whole lot of this at all. We don't really have, we're not like up against the dirt. We've left, you know, comfortable bit of tyres width to the outside, just so that as I turn in here, I'm not coming over a big crest. Down into third, as it drops into the camber, again, inside front, getting close to that red sausage curb on the inside, picking up the throttle right before the car really hunkers into the track, and it will give you a big chunk of traction. Power through the apex, getting to 100% nice and early, and then as the camber sort of falls away and the track flattens out, the car will get just a little bit light over that exit. Feel free to use a little bit of curb on the exit there, as long as you can bring it back across here and start to brake for the final corner. This is going to really make or break a lot of laps. It's a really tough corner, so you're going to be looking for this white strip again on the outside. The 2 is a little bit too late, so we do want to start braking at the white strip. Getting to threshold by the 2, which you can see here at threshold, really not applying a whole lot more. Past the 1, down into second gear, and then start turning it in, aiming to get right in line with, or right as close to the red anti-cut on the inside as we physically can. Also leading up to the front straight as well, you do want to pick up throttle nice and early, which you can see we've kept the brake in it just to get the car rotated, and as soon as we hit that apex, there's the throttle right there. So it's not a case of getting through the corner to around about here and then applying it. It's right back here. As soon as we get past that red anti-cut, we're onto the power. And with recent updates to Laguna Seca, you can extend right out onto this AstroTurf finally, which you should have been able to do for a long time prior, but iRacing removed the off-track for that. So make sure to use all the track on the exit, carry that run onto the front straight, and hopefully be on for a pretty hot lap. So with that, guys, that is a lap, of course, of Laguna Seca. As always, any kind of questions you guys may have, feel free to ask them in the Apex Racing Academy Discord. But with that, guys, I'll leave you to go and practice. Best of luck in your races this week, and we'll see you for week 12 next week.